Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I know I haven't done one of these yet, like a sit down type of video, but I really wanted to talk about how I'm kind of on my journey with healing my relationship with food. So the reason that I kind of started on this journey, and I'll kind of get into intuitive eating and everything in a minute, but I basically just I got to the point where I was tracking for 2 years and pretty much consistently, and I know I've mentioned this in a previous video as well, but yeah, it just kind of got a bit too much. It was really obsessive and just not mentally healthy for me, so I decided to stop tracking my food and yeah, basically just start intuitively eating. So the reason that I was so obsessive with the food that I was eating, I basically kind of created these rules around the foods I could and could not eat and how much I could eat, how much I should eat. So like protein goals were a big thing for me. So everything had to be kind of like super high in protein, really low in calorie. And you know, that's not to say that I was eating like dangerously low calories or anything. I never really got to that point, luckily. It never became kind of like, you know, really bad for my health, my physical health, but it was just kind of more the mental side of things just really took over. And yeah, obviously I was thinking about food all the time, and that I know that now it was my body signaling to me that I was, even if I wasn't physically restricting, which I was, but I was also mentally restricting as well. So I, you know, even if I let myself have things like chocolate, I would tell myself that I wasn't allowed them still. So yeah, there is also kind of that side of things as well. So it doesn't just have to be physical restriction, it can also be mental as well. So I still experience it sometimes where I'm thinking a lot about food, and it will kind of go on for, I mean, it won't go on for long, and so I'll be able to recognize that now and yeah, just know that, oh, okay, I'm thinking about food quite a lot right now. I think maybe I need to eat something. Maybe I need to have something that I'm craving, that my body is kind of telling me that I want. So my kind of, I guess the process of me starting to track my food and restrict my food basically started after I was processing grief for the first time. So my nan had just passed away very suddenly, and yeah, I guess I used it as a coping mechanism to feel some sort of control, right? So, you know, everybody kind of has their reason for doing it, but I think having a sense of control is quite a common one. But yeah, if you're kind of struggling with your relationship with food, with restricting and everything, I would definitely kind of look at the source of it and kind of where it started. Because I know that for me, yeah, it was grief that kind of pushed it into action, of me trying to cope. And the thing is as well, like when you start out on this journey, it won't be the easiest thing you'll ever do. For me, it's not the hardest thing I've ever done, but you know, it's the kind of thing where I personally have flicked back and forth a few times. So I realised, I don't even know, maybe over a year ago, that I had some sort of issue with food, right? And I kind of started to do something about it, but then I got a bit scared. I thought, oh, now I'm going to gain weight. And then I reverted back to what I was doing because I felt comfortable in that space. And yeah, that kind of happened a few times back and forth. But I can safely say that now I you know, I'm on a straight road. There's no going back to this at any point now. But yeah, it took a little while to get there. I think previously I knew that I had some sort of an issue, but I didn't realise kind of the extent of it. I didn't really think that it was that big of a deal at the time. But yeah, you definitely have to, I guess, get your mind in that headspace of just going through the process and going through the motions of it, because realistically you probably will gain some sort of weight in the very beginning, because I know that for me, because I have restricted all these foods that I loved, like chocolate and ice cream and cake and stuff like that, I kind of, when I allowed myself to just eat whatever I want, I did go a little bit crazy on them. I won't lie, I went a little bit crazy. I didn't binge or anything, but I'd have like, I guess like multiple portions of chocolate a day or whatever. I don't know how much, but I know that it was, you know, it was very, very consistent that I was eating all of that stuff that isn't necessarily like the healthiest for you or whatever, but I basically just had to kind of kick it out of my system. So the more and more I had those kind of things that I wasn't allowed before, the more those foods kind of didn't have such control over me. And I knew that it allowed me to get to the point where I knew that I could have them whenever I wanted, and I didn't have to have everything right now and have all of it. And yeah, so it definitely is part of the process. You kind of have to, you know, accept the fact, okay, I might gain a bit of weight, but it all even out eventually. Because then when you kind of start to, you know, have a bit more of a balanced diet rather than eating so much chocolate and everything, then it will kind of, you know, you'll start to lose that weight that you gained, and it will all even out in the end. Yeah, saying that, I don't actually know how much I weigh anymore. That was also part of my journey. So I don't weigh myself anymore. I think the last time I weighed myself was sometime in May, so not too long ago, but that is basically when I started this journey of intuitive eating and healing my relationship with food. So something that I have really learned within this journey is that you don't need to burn off food. And I think because I'm in such a fitness space, you know, training for the marathon, and I have a background of weightlifting as well, so that was my primary thing that I did. Now I literally just see it as fuel for my workouts. So if I don't have enough food, if I have a really small portion, then I tend not to perform as well as I know that I could, purely because that energy just isn't there. But yeah, it's something that doesn't need to be burned off and can actually be used as a tool for your workouts and for your performance, and it can, yeah, help you excel in what you do. I also as well used to be quite scared of having kind of larger portions, but that was definitely, it was all a mental thing, because I mean all of this is, but this in particular, because I would have this smaller portion and of whatever it was I was having, and then that wouldn't sustain me, so then I'd have something else, and then maybe something else and it, yeah, ended up, if I just had a bigger portion to begin with, then I could have had that one thing and felt satisfied, but I was always, yeah, just mentally couldn't go there, and I couldn't let myself have this larger portion of food, even though the quantity of food that I would end up having would be the same. I also as well have learned that exercise doesn't always have to be a super intense session every single time for it to count as exercise. So, you know, every Wednesday I do a chill run, I do like a slow heart rate run, and that's it. That's all I do. So for some people that might, you know, be their version of intense, but the idea of it is that you are purposely slow. So your heart rate is really, really low, and yeah, that's actually all I do for that day. And I don't purposely eat anything different or do anything different to, you know, burn extra calories or eat less or whatever. I just do what I do. I mean, that literally is what I do every day. I don't, you know, take into account exercise I'm doing purposely anyway. But I am aware that, so say on a Sunday I do a long run, so typically on a Monday I get really hungry, and I know that that is the effect of me doing that really long run the day before. So, you know, is that knowledge there that allows me to not worry about why I'm particularly hungry that day, but it also, on days where I don't exercise as much, then it's the same, you know, it goes both ways. So like I was saying earlier as well about food fueling your performance, so that as well is something that this whole journey has taught me to focus on more, especially with training for the marathon and seeing my progress with running, which is really, really cool to see. It's allowing me to have more of a focus on my performance and my ability and my progress rather than what I look like or how much body fat percentage I have or, you know, how toned I look. I mean, obviously that is still, it's a nice thing to have, but it's not the be all and end all. It's not everything, you know, it's just a side effect of my lifestyle, you know, how much I exercise and the things that I eat and everything. So Anna Archer actually has this really great quote that she references quite a lot, and it's basically to let your body be the product of your lifestyle. So choose the lifestyle that you want. You know, if you want to exercise, if you want to run, if you want to weight lift, the food that you want to eat, the things you want to do with your friends and your family, and then whatever your body looks like as a result of that, that's what your body looks like. Because at the end of the day, if you're not living the lifestyle and the life that you want, what's the point? You know, like, this is what life's all about. And I think a lot of the time I think when people get into the fitness industry, when they get into weightlifting and running and, you know, anything, it can be such an overwhelming space because there's so much information of, oh, you should be eating this much and you should be eating this much protein and this many carbs, and no, you should be like, you know, high fat diet and carbs are bad, and there's just such an overwhelming amount of information, and it's all subjective. You know, whatever works for you works for you. And a lot of people kind of go, and I did, I went way too far into it and just thought that it was life and death. You know, whether I ate enough protein in a day, I thought that something terrible was going to happen. And in reality, it's not. You know, I mean, yeah, if you don't eat enough protein for your lifespan, then you're probably not going to, you know, you probably won't be very strong. You won't, you know, have the most healthy body, let's say. But again, yeah, it's subjective to everybody and the lifestyle that you lead. So, but one day or a few days a week or a few days a month, it really won't make a difference at all. So I also just wanted to mention as well about intuitive eating, and I think it again is one of those terms that I think it seems a lot more intimidating than it actually is. Basically all you have to imagine is how you ate when you were a child, but with an adult mindset. So say you wake up in the morning and you think, oh, what do I fancy to eat? What do I want? And then you have what you want. And you know when you're hungry and you know when you're full. And there's a spectrum with it. Obviously, it's fine to eat past fullness every now and then, but it's the kind of thing that you learn with time and with getting to know your body. And as well, it's taught me a lot about trusting my body, and that, you know, it knows what to do. It knows when I need more food, and it knows when I've had enough, and it knows the kind of foods that I want for both my body and for my mind. So if I, you know, some foods are for performance and for health and nutrition, but some foods are for the soul. You know, chocolate isn't necessarily the most nutritional food item out there, but it tastes good and it makes you feel happy. If you live a life without treats and without fun things, like fun food, it's no life to live, in my opinion. Food is one of those like simple joys that we have in life, and it can make a really mundane day really special. You know, it can make special occasions even more special. It can make life good. So yeah, I will leave it there for today. That's basically my mini sort of rant, I guess, about intuitive eating and healing your relationship with food. Hopefully there was some kind of helpful tips in here as well. And yeah, if you liked it, give it a thumbs up, comment down below any other videos you want to see, or any of your experiences with intuitive eating, or maybe you've had, you know, a negative experience with your relationship with food. You know, any kind of insights that you have on this topic would be really, really interesting to see. So yeah, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.